Hey, good morning, folks. I'm Live Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa here. Sorry, a little stuffed up this morning. And the block 8311, any weather ants? No, just all weather today. I think we got the storm system figured out. It is a pretty big storm system, snowstorm, let's say, for the southwest quarter of Lower Michigan, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, South Haven, all in that corner. You're going to get the heaviest out of this. The rest of us get what I would call a solid storm system, solid snowstorm, not a mega storm. But let's get into it and give you the timing. I think we're pretty good on the timing now. That's been very consistent the last couple of days. I also think that we're pretty good on the amounts. Just a couple of quirks. How much in the southwest, where the lake enhancement kicks it up some, and how much in the southeast, where what looks like a mix can come in there. And what that always does is it squashes the snow, and then it usually builds back up a little bit. So here we go. Here's current radar, and we still have more isolated areas of still fairly heavy lake effect snow going on the east side of Traverse City through Kalkaska down toward Grayling. I've seen, even yesterday, I've seen some 20-inch reports, something like that. And then in the southwest corner too. But otherwise, it's just pretty well clear and not too terrible as far as road conditions go. Okay, so I wrote about this already this morning, that I can't find the perfect snowfall map for you based on what all of the models are saying on the actual storm system. What I mean by that is we're seeing that the low pressure center, the L in the center of the storm, is drifting a little further to the north and west, about what I talked about yesterday, and so it appears as though a mix will be in the southeast, and typically that lowers the amounts. I think the models will catch on to that unless there's something going on where you actually get a few more inches of snow after the storm system. But I like this that I'm going to show you right now as the storm and as the timing and all that good stuff. So we go through today. Hey, good morning, Arthur Putnam. Thanks for joining in. We go into today, and it's not a real heavy snow issue. There are some scattered bands of lake effect snow still continuing, but they're lifting northeast and isolated. So on the north, you still have, a couple of hours here and there of accumulating snow. And this is this evening. Well, this is this evening at 11 o'clock this evening. So I don't like to travel in the dark in the winter after some snow, but it's pretty good if you don't want to get up early tomorrow. So this is 7 in the morning. Let's go to noon. And we're at noon. What do you see at noon? The snow will be starting in the southwest corner and along the western shoreline from Ludington southward. So tomorrow morning should be good travel as far as weather conditions go in lower Michigan. And now let's go to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the snow has started in Traverse City probably, and maybe Mount Pleasant, and definitely Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, and the southwest corner, maybe heading toward Lansing. And then we go to 5 o'clock, 6, and 7 o'clock. So I'm going to say by 7 o'clock it's snowing in the east, and by 7 o'clock it's pretty slick with maybe a couple of inches of snow. Hey, thank you, Go Blue SH. And Carly, good morning. Thank you. By evening, early evening, the southwest corner, the west side will be slick. And note, the darker blue that you see is the heavier snow. Okay, so look at the storm center out there in western Illinois. And this is Saturday night. guess what it's going to do Saturday night? It's going to snow across all of Michigan. Maybe every spot will have snow reported at that time. It's this kind of storm system, a widespread one. It's the storm center is at the southern end of Lake Michigan. And remember, this model depicts it correctly. If it sets up like this, just south of it, I-94 southward, you could change to rain, sleet, freezing rain possible because the roads are cold now and mixed with snow towards Sunday morning. And even this is 6 o'clock in the morning, even Ann Arbor and Detroit and whatnot. And then the low tracks to Lake Huron, very common thing at this time of the year in that it wants to track to warmer water. And then as we go into Sunday afternoon, the main storm moves off, and then you get that little pocket in the southwest corner. You get the pockets of snow around Manistee, Ludington, up into northwest lower and the eastern UP. That's the few hours of lake effect after that and a couple of more inches of snow. So, like I said, I don't have what I feel is a perfect look. I think this is very good. It gives you the general feel, but I always worry about the southeast. Detroit, Ann Arbor, Monroe, down in there. You oftentimes get that mix and you wind up lower. So I would say in this area, that's what you do is in the far southeast, you actually lower your amount manually by a little bit. Jason DeVoe, Sunday morning, driving from Rochester. It doesn't look great at that time because you've had, as you'll see, quite a bit of snow and it's just winding down. So let's take this total snowfall forecast. And for the rest of the day, you see little pockets of a couple of inches, but most of us dry. Then we go to Saturday. And this is 5 o'clock. So really, you've got some time, if this model is correct on accumulations. You've got some time to get somewhere Saturday. Now in the southwest corner, you're going to start to get slick already by 5 o'clock. And then it starts to come down overnight. And this is midnight. So during the evening hours, the roads will deteriorate during, anywhere from the 6 p.m. to midnight time period. So try to get to where you're going before then, because you have snowy roads and you have the snow, the reduced visibility. Now we're at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. Let's just run it through to the end. And this is what I would call, I already wrote about this morning. We kind of divided up into sections. I don't mind any of these numbers. I think they're probably pretty good. Southwest corner, you're 6 to 10, but more toward the 10, and a couple isolated, maybe a little heavier than that. Grand Rapids, you're probably an easy 6, probably 7 or 8. You get to Lansing and Jackson. I don't know about that for Jackson because of the mix. East side of the state, I'd call it 4 to 7. 4 is pretty easy. 7 might be hard. Traverse City, northern lower Michigan, I'd call it 4 to 7. Also there. In the UP, I'd call it 4 to 7. So I'm still calling it a 4 to 7 inch snowstorm for most of us. A lot of 5s and 6s. Not a mega snowstorm by Michigan standards in the middle of winter, but superimposed right upon very busy travel. And then in the southwest, that is indeed a decent sized storm. And when you look across the lake, all of those 9s and 10s and Chicago 9 and Iowa, that's a solid, pretty heavy snowstorm for those folks over there. They're not like we are. Hey, thank you, Bowtie 1219. Okay, so, hey, thanks for joining me on the MLive morning weather update. A little bit late this morning. Usually do this about 9 to 9:30. I was up early and I wanted to get an article written. So, and it gave me a chance to see the latest high resolution rapid refresh that goes out 48 hours. So that helps out a lot too. I'm meteorologist Mark Torregrossa from MLive. See, it says right there. Thanks for joining me. This is how we do this every day, Monday through Friday, and at times during severe weather. We take a look. Now we're on the European ensemble. I like that. I don't like it when a storm is imminent because it kind of waters things down. But in this case, it brings the mixes in. In this case, I think it gives you a really good feel for what you get, plus or minus an inch. So there you see it. Flint at 5, and Detroit and Ann Arbor at 5. Both of those could be an inch or so lower. And then you go back to the southwest, and it's not so overblown, but it shows you're more likely 8, 9, 10 inches. You get up to Traverse City, it kind of boosts the lake effect, 7 inches up in there. And then we go from there. So I guess, did I run this all the way through? Hold on. Hopefully I showed this when it winds down. Yeah, so let's run it through. And there's your mix. And then, like I said, the storm system snow, pretty well, let's call it over with in west of US 127. Let's call it over with about 9, 10 in the morning, let's say, and probably noon in most places. That is, however, though, a pretty good flow for a sneaky, light, everywhere type lasting lake effect for a little while. So we got your amounts. So when do we go back to the 40s? Oh, we don't. Let's see. Any guess on Sunday? Waterford area for those of us going to church. I would say it's going to be quite messy. You're probably going to have 3, 4, 5 inches. You may have some rain mixed in. You might be into a little sleet mid-morning or even freezing rain because the roads are cold. So it's certainly going to be just as you'd expect and as I've been describing. So this is Saturday's highs, 20s west, 30s, low 30s to the east. This is Sunday's high temperatures. If we could get to 33 and the snow stops, then one swipe of the plows and some salt and a couple of hours of cars driving on it, you might find that I-94 is not too bad. This might be the case where you either choose to come back to Michigan tomorrow before the storm, or you choose to wait until later Sunday afternoon when things have stopped for many spots and it's warmed up a little bit. Monday's cold, Tuesday's cold, Wednesday's cold, Thursday's very cold. The weekend coming up is very cold, so it doesn't appear as though we have any warm-up in sight. We are in it to winter it, as I dubbed yesterday. There you go, Julie Ammon. Now, one last thing for you. I always look at the upper airflow with you, and what we get out of this right now is the fact that it's very wavy. I'll show this to you for 16 days. And remember, any one of these bends in the jet stream means the air is circulating counterclockwise, and that causes precipitation here. So any one of these bends is a potential snow. They don't look like mega snows. Usually when you get into a stormy pattern, you pick out one that's probably the strongest. It was probably the one we just had, and then this one is a secondary one, and then the others will be somewhat weaker, but we'll have to see. But the point is that I wanted to get across is that it's fairly stormy pattern. So here's our Saturday, Sunday snowstorm right there. That's what that kink represents. There's another cold front on Tuesday. Remember, I showed you Thursday's really cold. Well, the Arctic front tries to dip in, and there could be some significant lake effect there for 6 to 12 hours. Larry, can my son in Freeland start filling the ice rink? Yes, start it at the moment. Now we're out to December 6th and 7th. What we have is the polar vortex has slid over to this side of the globe toward Hudson Bay, and we get little pieces rotate around that. Here's one. Now, something like that, pretty far out to believe, but that's December 10th. That would be another snowstorm, actually, for Michigan, a full-fledged one like what we have coming on. And you can see there, unfortunately, for those of you that want a little bit of a break, there's just not really any sort of break in the storm systems coming up, or I should say break in the wintry pattern. I think it'll probably happen. It usually does. For this day and age, for us to start winter on Thanksgiving and stay winter all the way through, pretty rare. So we'll probably have a let up. By the way, we have a La Nina, and Weather Service in Detroit has a good write-up on that in La Ninas, our temperature pattern is more up and down than what we normally have in Michigan. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Hey, thanks for joining me on the MLive Morning Weather Update. Have yourselves a great day. Drive tomorrow before 5, or maybe wait until Sunday afternoon. Take care.